I'm Grace.
And I'm Jalen.
And I'm Glory. And we are doing a podcast on a CBS show called Big Brother.
That has been on for like 21 seasons. They put a bunch of strangers, or supposed to be strangers, in a house together, and it's a social experiment to see who can last the longest to win $500,000.
And it's for 3 months in the summertime. It's 21 seasons, so it's been for pretty much 21 years. And it's pretty well known for, I would say, more like middle class people, but it's also like, when I think people that watch it are like Midwest to like the middle of America watches it more than anything else.
But there are a lot of young people.
Yeah, there's a lot of young viewers.
And it has a lot of followers and fans across all social media accounts. Like each social media kind of has their own fandom, own like following, and own communities of watchers.
Yeah, and we're talking about the most recent season. There was like a lot of controversy around it, so we thought it would be a good
a good conversation to have to critique it.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially because in the finale episode for this season, the production did bring it up to the house guest attention that were on the show, and then they asked for a response from them, not showing them what they said. So they expected them to respond and apologize essentially for not even knowing what they said. So they weren't fully held accountable, and this was something that was very prominent and obvious to us to talk about because the way that CBS handled this wasn't really the best, since it wasn't elaborate and it didn't hold the people accountable. It didn't show how racism needs to be dealt with in America, and it has a pretty true, accurate representation of a lot of Americans' behaviors and implicit biases that they have in their actions and in their language. So, but we only found a lot of these clips that told the truth of what the house guests were going through online through they have a live feed that you can have access to if you pay for. And so different people edited the true footage together and put it available on YouTube. So we will link that in our assignment so that you can have that available. There's a few videos that are like less than 10 minutes long. But this information is only available to people who can see it via YouTube. It's not available.
Who care to go out and find it.
Yeah, who care out to go and find it as well.
Yeah, they did not show these clips. They painted a different picture of these people who were being racist, and they painted them in a better light than they should have. It wasn't until the end that they called them out, so...
And aside from that, there was a lot of sexism and bullying as well, and just like othering of a lot of people, and a lot of separation between what they think is this game and real life. So there's a lot of emphasis on that, and a lot of topics, like within racism, that need to be talked about, because people that you would typically think like, oh, LGBTQ people, they're progressive because they're LGBTQ, like they're a marginalized community as well. You think that a person that's in the LGBTQ community would be progressive or like wouldn't have like racist ideals, but they are just as well capable of having racist ideals.
And that's where like intersectionality plays like a big role in how like our perception of things and how like we react towards others in a way. And if you're not aware of intersectionality, like you become a problem in that. So,
and it's definitely heartbreaking to see, because you think like, oh, let's have solidarity between people that are marginalized, but that was not the case in this scenario. In some of the house guests' connections with other people on the show. And so yeah, we decided to talk about it and bring some awareness to it, and hopefully there will be, something done about it in the future. Hope maybe not so far away.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Enjoy podcast.
Enjoy.
Podcast, yeah, that's a good one.
About how we were just talking about how the term redneck and everything like
Yes.
came about and stuff.
Like, he doesn't want to be labeled as a redneck, but
Yeah.
he will label the other people
Yeah.
gladly.
Also, it's interesting because I've heard somebody recently talk to me about rednecks being people from the mountains. So it's like something that only people from that area should refer to each other as, because it's kind of derogatory. And I was like, well, it's not racist, but that is not incorrect, because like the point of that video did say it's prejudice, not racist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, okay, I won't call people rednecks then. Simple, that's fine. But when I do, when you see those people that are turning their heads to look at car crashes, rubbernecking, I always call those out,
Yeah.
because that's a whole different
I'm
thing.
gonna show you guys. Let me see if I can pull it up. Shit. Like what the parents said, because like I want you guys to see it. I don't know why it's not working. I literally got an Amazon account so I could watch it.
Wow, are you serious? You did not have to do that.
Well, it was a free 7-day.
Okay, you canceled
Try
it, right?
So, not yet.
Okay, make sure you do
I
that.
kind of like it. I kind of like it.
Oh, you
Maybe
kind of
I
like
will
it.
cancel it.
Wow, Amazon Prime, another thing we can talk about. It's a conspiracy. I'm just kidding. So
There's literally so many.
one of the biggest issues is that a lot of these instances happened, and their production team just swept it under the rug instead of showing it, because it is a technically a reality TV show. Well, not reality enough, because this is reality of people acting like this, and it needs to be shown so people know. And then, honestly, once enough people see it, then we can end it, and the show cannot be a thing anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of the like casual fans that just watch the live shows, like they don't know what's really going on, and so like they felt blindsided and they were like mad that Mickey got called out for racism, but like the people who watch the live feeds that have seen all those clips and everything like that, they feel gypped because like no, they didn't show that, and so it's like they're not showing their true selves, and they're like getting a good edit, and then at the end, that's when they say, like, that's when they finally talk about the big racism thing, but it's like they didn't talk about it the whole time,
Yeah. No.
And
except for with Jack.
they conveniently talked about it after everyone voted.
Yeah, after they voted, like,
So no longer can you change your vote, because the people who voted for game versus real life, or morals, because apparently you're supposed to play this game without morals.
Yeah. No. At first, when I was watching it, I was like, "Oh wow, it's like a people, like an individual person problem, not like individual person problem, but like when I was thinking about it, and in one of the videos when Kemi was like, "Oh, they're telling me to act a certain way, so I portray like something different than what I actually am," I was like, "Oh, this is like a production thing." Like, there's people like that everywhere, but the problem is that these institutions aren't calling them out, and they're making it okay, So that's why I was like, yeah, there's like a bigger picture to everything, kind of.
yeah, and they have like scripted DRs, like diary room sessions, and Like they want the production value of it. They want to portray certain people as certain things. Like they want these
They have
token
characters,
Yeah,
yeah.
they want the token characters. They want all this stuff.
And you could tell it's been very evident for a long time, but people always think like, well, myself included at times, what can we do as individuals? What can we do? Do we just keep tweeting them? Do we just send them a letter, an email, like
Do we stop
Yeah.
watching?
Instagram?
Yeah.
Like, do we have to sign a freaking petition for you to have true representation of what America looks like, and not the racist people? So we can't give them a platform anymore. Like, do more thorough background checks, maybe,
Yeah.
of the people that you're about to put on, or just not have the show anymore, because honestly, it's really a kind of disgusting little psychological test.
Yeah, it's like
A
like
social
I said,
that you
yeah.
experiment, a social
A social
experiment. You said.
experiment. Yeah, because like I don't know, it's just crazy to see how the power dynamic is in it when you're not talking to anybody else, when you're like cut off from the world, kind of.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, that they created their own little like social group. They had what was it, the Grateful Eight? Or
Yeah.
whatever, and they had
Yeah.
like little
And
alliances
then the
and stuff.
outsiders.
And I mean, I've never really seen the show before this stuff, so I don't know if that's how it was in the like past.
Honestly,
but there was
a
It's
lot of
been
the
turning
times-
to that because recently, like they used to have like multiple groups, multiple different alliances at the same time, but now it was more so this one giant alliance of the cool people or the
Yeah.
white people, essentially, and the oppressed people that
Yeah.
either it was originally the minority group and then that were in Camp Comeback, the group that they set up that was outside of the house but still inside the house. But after those people were voted out, after they made a target they put a target on them, they made like the older dude, like the dad, and like the nerdy skinny girl, and like the Latino woman. They made them the outside group
Yeah.
and never included them on purpose.
Yeah, it was like a big bullying thing, you know?
And then they just said, then the people that were in those excluded groups, when they were realizing that what it was going on was racism, they're like, I don't want to play that card. So then they were feeling guilt from the other people, or arguing as if it had already happened and didn't even happen, and labeling themselves as pulling the racism card when that you shouldn't pull it, when it needs to be pulled,
Yeah, I feel
because
like,
that's what's going on.
like in most shows that are similar like this, when you vote somebody off, pretty much, they're off the show. But since they had like the camp comeback thing, like they still had that feeling like, oh, I'm better than you type of
Yeah.
thing, and then it just added to it because they had to wear a different uniform. Oh, they were in a like worse living quarters or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and so it just like added to that in a way, you know, to like.
And when they
discrimination
played
stuff.
competitions, the people that were in the camp comeback had to sit in the room secluded.
And during the house meetings and stuff like that.
Yeah, during the house meetings and other things, had to sit secluded. So they were a part of it, but also
Doesn't
told to
it-
go
it,
off
like,
away.
It reminds you of kind of like how the world really is. Like,
And like Ovi, he talked about how like the house kind of emulates real life, and so like he knew what was going on. It's just like sucks that it had to happen, and like it also is crazy that they do recreate like what happens in real life in the house. Like the majority alliance of white people, like they all come together and they automatically exclude the brown people, the black and brown people, and it's like, and then they label like they label them as like threats or targets or whatever, and it's like, well, take a step back and wonder why those people are threatening to you and all this other stuff, and it's like,
Yeah.
like they're like Jackson was talking about, oh, I don't see race or gender when I'm talking to these people, but it's like maybe you should take an intersectional approach and actually think about what you're doing, because
Instead of erasing their identities.
exactly instead of
'Cause those are
erasing
their
it,
main identity
acknowledge
markers.
it and see like, and maybe question what you're looking at, because if you look at your alliance, and see, there's a bunch of white people around me, and I'm
And
then all the other people are not in there, like see what you're doing, and then you won't be called out for being racist because you're actually acknowledging what's going on.
exactly. And like, Wait, I forgot what I was gonna say. Honestly, I had like a thought and then it just like disappeared. Why does that happen to me?
That's okay. Another thing that I want to talk about was like Jackson's apology after he won, when he immediately started out with "I'm not racist." Like, say something else. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Find a better
Or
excuse.
even when he's like, I love my mom, and you know what
Oh,
I mean?
when
Yeah,
he got called out-
I respect all women. Okay, I
He
love
got
my
called
mom.
out
I'm
for
like,
misogyny.
Okay.
He's like,
Yeah.
I respect women more than anybody else. I'm the most respectful person. It's like, he's
try
like,
again.
I'm just abrasive. I'm intense. I'm passionate. It's like, you can be those things without being degrading towards these people
And aggressive
and you can
and-
apologize for those actions and like
yeah.
stop doing it.
Imagine if Kemi was just like that. She'd be labeled as what, like the angry black woman,
Exactly.
or like these negative stereotypes.
And he didn't get any
gets
naming
away
at
with
all.
it.
He didn't get
Big
that.
Brother
He
just
gets
kept
forgiveness.
stroking his
Yeah.
ego. CBS kept stroking his ego.
Yeah,
And letting him get
exactly.
away with it.
Like, I don't know, the way it, like those traits that he was like saying are seen as like good traits or like whatever, but the moment like even like a woman or whatever like would act like that, oh, she's a bitch, or like, you know
Exactly.
what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Or she's
You could
crazy
be
or acting
assertive,
out of
but she's
hand.
aggressive.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's just crazy like how, I mean, like I said before, I feel like this show, the people I think were diverse in it. I mean, it was still like majority was white, but out of other shows that I've seen, there was more diversity.
That were on the same channel on CBS
Honestly, I don't
or
know.
because
I know that Love Island is on CBS as well, but I don't know about the
I don't know the other show that you were talking about.
No, I'm
earlier,
just
but-
saying in general.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it shows. I don't know. Do you
But
know?
yeah, like reality TV.
Reality TV.
Yeah, I would
shows.
say that the only other chances I could say where it's a little bit more diverse might be like some MTV shows, not all of them,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. But
And
even on MTV, like they have the challenge, which is kind of like Big Brother, but just way more intense. They a lot of the times have white majority alliances too, and
Yeah.
then like they will talk about the other house guests, and like they'll be like,
they'll put
oh,
an
I
enemy
just
on them.
like the white girl was talking about one of the black girls, and she's like, I don't know, there's just something about her I don't like I don't like her attitude, I don't like blah blah
I have a
blah.
bad vibe about her.
Yeah, and it's like, what is your
There's no
bad vibe? It's
reason.
racism, okay? Like,
It's racism. Okay.
Your bad vibe is
No, Yeah,
racism.
but like, I guess, like it just emulated, like how America really is in general.
Yeah.
Like,
It painted the exact
yeah,
same picture.
Exactly. Of
And-
what, yeah. What were you saying?
No, I'm agreeing with you. And their not showing of it is the saying I'm not racist, or I have a black friend and so I'm not
Yeah.
racist, or
Yeah.
like that's trying to cover up your racism, but it's not working. Like we see right through it because it was still noticeable. Like it was just genuinely noticeable from right the fuck away. Excuse my language. Where he elected himself the winner before he won, elected himself, the speaker or whatever, when 3 people have already offered their interest right before him.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
said, oh, since no one else will do it, magically those people become no one
Yeah.
because he doesn't see their identity and doesn't respect them for who they are. And he immediately deems them a threat because they had the balls to raise their hand. So he's saying, oh, well, they had the courage and they are strong competitors to raise their hands. So he didn't see them, and then now he does see them, and now he sees them as a threat.
Yeah,
Immediately,
and then
immediate threat.
The people that went against him, he puts in to be banished or whatever.
Exactly.
And because, and his reasoning is, well, they went against me. It's like, well, you went against them too, so, like, what the
Yeah.
heck? And then, again, he doesn't see their identities and doesn't see that he voted in 2 black people, a brown person, and the old guy in the house to be banished.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you vote in any pretty young people? Like,
And
pretty white people?
something that they didn't show that was prominent was the thing that just really made me cringe and was like I was disgusted by was Jack saying we're gonna make a collective agreement not to talk to the people
Yeah.
that are in the secluded group, the Camp Comeback group,
About game.
about the game. And it's like the whole point of their job, the whole point of that was for them to be able to talk about that stuff with you guys.
Yeah.
And so it just seemed like
So you're further excluding them.
it just seemed like a huge a huge display of racism, whether it was purposeful or not. I think that doesn't even matter in this scenario because he still said it, and the lack of acknowledging those people's identity, their racial identities, apart from anything else, is just as important. And you ignored it by doing that, and still at the same time called attention to it because you were like, nope, we're not going to talk to them.
Yeah.
So we're going to actively recognize that we're not going to talk to them on purpose. And if you do, you're just as well as bad as them.
Yeah.
And I'm labeling them bad.
And, like, they kind of were, like, ruling by fear in a way. You
Yes.
know what I mean? Like, people wanted to please them for whatever reason because if they didn't please them, they'd be out.
Exactly.
And it's like they want to be part of the majority, not, you know, the minority. Like, you know what I mean? They wanted to be part of that group so that they weren't, like, discriminated against in the way, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just
So they
thought it
didn't
was
say anything
crazy
about it.
how, like, they were trying to please, like, these like men.
Yeah, these
like,
strong
you know,
men.
Yes.
They put such an emphasis on physical game too. So like, to them, like the people that vote for the winner, you're more valid if you've actually won competitions instead of getting to the end like through having a really good social game and making like good friends and like knowing how to
Connections
talk
and treating
deals
people
and
well.
treating people nicely. So they separate morals from their game because they think that, oh, this isn't the real world. They always make references. This isn't the real world. This isn't the real world. Well, yes, it
Yeah.
is a real world. There's just cameras.
Yeah.
Just because your address changed for a few months doesn't mean that you're
And
not
it's
still
crazy
alive.
Knowing that there was cameras everywhere.
And they
And
still
said
showed,
the
and they
same
still acted the
thing.
same way that they would act at home.
Yeah, I feel like they weren't afraid because in
They-
real life, like, nobody calls you out.
Yeah.
You know,
Nobody
but
calls
now-
them out at the grocery
Yeah.
store
Yeah.
or in their friend groups because they're scared of confrontation. They're scared of truth and they're scared for themselves to be wrong because they're uncomfortable. They don't like being uncomfortable.
Exactly.
And there's growth and learning in uncomfortability. If they would have just said, hey, own up to what they did, because even when people like Mickey or Jackson got called out by production, I'm pretty sure they never apologized to the people that they said their racist remarks to.
Until
Probably
the
not.
end. Well, like, yeah.
Until the
Until the
very,
end,
very
until they got
end,
called
when
out by
when Julie,
Yeah.
the host, called them out and said, "So viewers think you guys did this,"
Yeah. Like,
and that they did the worst compilation video or edit of displaying their racism to them,
'Cause
and
it
they
was
did it. And then
rushed.
yes, it was rushed, but it was also just that's not the part that you should be rushing.
yeah.
If you're gonna show us this, and if you're gonna be rushing through it, make a part 2 episode tomorrow because this is something that's important. And the fact that you guys didn't recognize that in this time frame is
Yeah, like, the whole season's 40 episodes. Like,
Yeah.
you couldn't, you know.
exactly
All those quirky edits and all those freaking panoramas.
all the time that it
all
was boring
stuff,
and they weren't doing anything.
You could have easily
Called them out. You
put
could have
that
talked
in
about
there.
this.
Yeah. And it's also annoying because
Especially when-
like when they did finally confront the people, they acted like they had no idea what was happening and they're just blindly apologizing for their comments that they don't know what they are.
Yeah.
And so they're just like, I'm sorry. Like, some of them didn't even say they're sorry.
Yeah.
Some of their sorries were like half-assed and just
Yeah, a lot.
bad.
I'm sorry you caught me.
And then so
Yeah.
then when one of the other house guests were like, you need to go back home, you need to watch the clips of what you said, and then after you know what you did, then you can apologize and then you need to make a change
Yeah.
because like you can't just be like, oh, I'm sorry that I did that when you don't even know what you actually did.
Yeah, and I think, was it Christy who was apologizing? She said, she was like, honestly, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But if there's anything I did to offend you, like, I'm sorry, and I'm going to go back and watch it, and I'm sure I'm going to know what you're talking about, and you will receive a personal call from me. But it's like, they couldn't really do much
Yeah.
with their, you know, they didn't.
And then Christy also like blamed her comments on her hormones, and it's
Oh,
like,
yeah, she did say that.
and
oh,
it's
yeah, I
like
forgot that.
we understand that it's a high stress game and all this other stuff, but don't blame your hormones on what's going
Or your
on.
emotions, like that, as if your emotions and your hormones aren't a part of your own body and you
Yeah.
acting.
'Cause
That's
you
still
have,
your
you
actions.
have emotions and hormones every day. So are you out? In
You
the
don't become a
everyday
different
saying those
person.
things?
Just because you're on your period. Like, stuff might be happening to you, but what you do
Yeah.
and say and act and feel is still a part of you. You're feeling it, correct? So you don't just become absolved of that
Yeah.
behavior just because, you know, you're bleeding or
Yeah,
like, and I say that myself, like, you would act out on anger, like, from any emotional situation or whatever, but that does not absolve you from what you did. You need to own up to it and take responsibility. So I feel like it was really traumatic for the viewers that knew what was going on. And then, like, that whole edit and, like, making them apologize before seeing it was the shittiest job of trying to make amends ever. But also, the person that casted the people this season is not working there anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not because of recently. Like, this was already set in stone that this is their last
Oh.
season. So there
They're
is
now
still.
gonna work for Big Brother Canada, so
Oh, that's
I'm
so
gonna
much
say a
better.
prayer for them. But they are getting another person for next season because it did get renewed. So hopefully they can learn from this season and actually make a change in
Yeah.
their casting and stuff like that. But like they admit that they get a lot of people from Instagram and from like casting places like or talent agencies or whatever, and so it's people who want to be on TV
Yeah.
that are on the show, but
Oh.
there are fans in real life that want to be on the show that apply for the show.
Yeah.
So everybody's like, well, get good fans, interview them, make sure they're actually mentally stable, like make sure that they're actually
healthy.
good people, and then put them on the show. Like, don't put shitty people that are half-assed.
That you know have been convicted of domestic violence assaults.
Yeah, like Mickey.
Yeah. I can't believe he won.
He won. The person that won. And
Well-
when he won, he had the most disappointed, sad look in his face of all time.
It was like white entitlement.
He was not happy.
Got shot down, and then he felt a lot of white guilt, and then he was just like, "Oh, poor me! I just got called out." Like,
Yeah, he was like, the most important thing to me is that I make my mom and dad proud.
yeah.
And then when he realized that that might not happen, and that there was a chance for his parents to really consider the racism that happened,
He had threw a temper tantrum.
he was upset. So he was essentially pissed because he realized that, oh no, I never even cared about the money. I cared about making my parents proud, whatever myth that is.
And it's just so funny to me because the whole season, he just kept talking about, I just want the confetti on my shoulders. He just kept talking about the confetti. He finally gets this dumbass confetti that he wants, and he has the straightest face ever because he just got called out on his shit.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. When you look at the world, like who is in power, who has the money, like, you know, it's
He's just a representation of
Yeah,
that part
exactly.
of that truth of
Yeah.
America right now.
it's kind of sad. Not
It
kind
is.
of. It's really
Really
sad.
No, really sad.
It's funny because like last season, it was a white guy and then a Filipino lesbian and in the final two, and everybody thought that the white guy was going to win because everybody thought he played a better game or whatever, but he lost and she won because she had better jury management and stuff like that.
Like she was better at remaining friends with the people that left, where he was like more rude or mean or had like not had a good foot left off with those other people
Right.
that were voting. So he
Yeah.
didn't win, even though he probably looked like he deserved to win more
So it's
based
just really
on like
funny
competitions.
because like it's so satisfying to see the white man lose, especially when they act out and like act like children and whatever. And so just the fact that he got rewarded for all that bad behavior just really pisses me
Yeah.
off. But maybe this will be a learning experience for him. I don't know, but
I have a huge feeling that, at least this is what I kind of want to happen, is like people never leave him alone in public. Like, everybody is aware. Like, I don't know a lot of people that watch this show,
Yeah.
but I'm just going to pretend that wherever he lives, everyone is disappointed in him and they see the real videos, and the real videos get out and go viral. And then all the people that said what they said, not necessarily lose their jobs, but really they really reap what they sow.
No, I really think that's like best case scenario thing.
Yeah,
But I
for
really
a fact.
think even people who have seen the clips knows what he said. Like, do they care? You know, what I
No,
mean?
there are a lot of people that don't.
Unless you are like, not unless you. This is about to sound really like. I feel like the people he's surrounded with aren't like people who
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're
Like,
gonna sympathize with him,
not
for being
Yeah.
attacked for
Yes.
being racist
Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of calling him out for his
Yeah.
racism.
So
And
they
that-
think that racism is, you know,
They're probably also colorblind and think that if you
Yes.
talk about race, you're the problem. So they're just
Oh,
gonna
or
blame
and they
that-
think
other
racism
people.
ended with the civil
You
rights
just-
era
you
or
just-
like Obama being
Yeah,
president.
you just remind me of a clip, right? And I watched it. It was on YouTube, and somebody asked him about basically calling him out for what the show and what he said and
Yeah.
everything. And he was like, I really hate how this is a problem right now.
Yeah,
Like,
he said this is really something that people are talking about nowadays or something like that. And I'm like,
I'm a little,
just
Yeah.
because it's being made aware of doesn't mean it's only been happening recently.
yeah, I hate that this is a problem now. No, this has always
It's
been
been a
problem.
problem. Y'all just want to sweep it under the rug.
It's a
and
problem
we're
to
not
you
letting it
because you're
happen.
uncomfortable with people confronting you because you're
exactly.
being a part of the problem.
Yeah.
People do not like confrontation. White people are scared.
And it's not even like they're just sweeping it under the rug. They're trying to shove it in the basement and lock the fucking doors. And
Yeah.
we're like clawing our way out, trying to actually tackle the problem.
Especially because they think that just talking about race period is racism, like you said. So they don't even like calling attention to their own race, and that's a part of the problem too.
Yeah.
Like not recognizing that you're white and then there's privilege in that. And like and there's privilege in a lot of class like ranking too. So like to ignore that, and especially in this instance, is like really disgusting and trash. Not like it's not a surprise because it is representative of what America really is right now. As sad as that is, that's how people are acting. So my only thing is like, what can we do to like make people aware of it?
Accountability. We just have to be
Yeah.
If we
hold
can't do
people
anything.
accountable.
Mhm.
And I
Exactly.
think that even though the finale was rushed and the conversation was rushed, I still sort of applaud CBS for even including that in there because
True, 'cause it was
technically
something-
they didn't have to. So I'm glad that they did. I just wish they gave it like the actual full amount of time that they.
The person that is in charge of putting their whole episode together, whatever that job that is, I don't know, but
executive producer.
yeah, that person is moving a little slow, but you're right. There is a victory in the fact that at least it was there
And now we can talk about it.
because it definitely was happening before this, and I don't remember there being segments like this in previous seasons.
Because this racism thing is not new to the Big Brother cast.
Yeah.
It happens every year. Like, they always have racism scandals and all this other stuff. So it's nice that the show is trying to finally confront
Has it always been hosted by the same person?
Yep, it's always hosted by Julie
Chen
Chen.
Moonves.
Which is even crazier because you can't even excuse like a minority host because she doesn't have any power to do anything. Like at the end of the day, she might want to have a question about that to some people, and it seems like a little bit more like she does have some say in it, or maybe like other people are just giving her better questions to ask because she has been calling people out a little bit more when they like get evicted from the
Jack.
house. But it's not like super intense all the way still. It still like allows them to have their half-ass apologies. It still allows them to, not understand the true definitions of the words they say and understand like the real depth in the problem of what they are continuing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just thought of something. A couple seasons ago, there was this girl. Her name was Erin, and she said a lot of racist things, and she got called out for it by Julie when she got evicted. But there were like 2 other people at least that also said like equally as bad or worse things, and that got swept under the rug. Like that was not. So like they only talk about it to like one person and not the rest of the cast. And it's like it's a problem within the whole house, and so like. That's where I'm like, okay, I'm glad that they finally called out the whole house for it instead of just one person when everybody's doing it.
Yeah, and like I was thinking about, so also there was a problem with bullying, and you remember Ovi came up and was like, I don't think that's right, and I think to like, I don't know, try to change like or recognize the issue, like people need to stop being bystanders, because stuff like this happens everywhere around us,
And
and
people
like
always want to be on the fence.
yeah, and or like we don't, it's not our business, or you know, and
It
like
doesn't concern me. It doesn't involve
yeah.
me.
Yeah, because a lot of the times when people were talking bad about Kemi, the black girl, the black guy, David, he would just sit there and like either not say anything
it's
or
like
he
not
would
his
join
business.
in.
Yeah.
And like I think that it's really good of Ovi to actually call that out because there are some people that didn't call it out and they were just
Yeah.
bystanders. Yeah.
And I think that in real life, like I'm guilty of it. Like everybody's guilty of being a bystander.
At least
when,
one time, yeah.
Yeah, when you know we really should speak up, you know, and say that's not right, so that these people like he was so shocked that he was like me, like I'm not racist, like no, like he was so shocked because he's never been called out.
And nobody
So- He's
nobody
never
in the
been called
house
out.
that was around him the whole time called him out either.
Yeah.
So it's even worse because what are the people that are associated with these people going to look like? Because I'm sorry, but the girlfriend of the dude that won, Holly, she just let him say all those things and she participated in it too, and she's
she
just
even
as guilty
said-
too.
She kind of said that she held him back, like he could have been worse, but she held him back from being it. But like you knew.
Oh, you're proud of that. Wow.
Yeah,
But you didn't stop
Oh,
it.
yeah.
You didn't tell him it was wrong
But
still.
yeah, pretty much. And also, this is kind of like a side note. Ayana was doing American Idol, right? And we had to sign like a contract about how like, oh, you could be twisted to look any way, like based on production, like oh, like if they want to make you look embarrassing or whatever, you can be looked that way. And so, just to put that in perspective of like how reality TV is,
Wow.
it's like people can be perceived any way by the production. You know what I mean?
And they
it's
could
like-
literally just plant that on them for the whole
Yeah.
time and figure out how to make it look
Yeah.
like that. to
Oh, we
us,
can make
too.
you look stupid. Like we can use whatever clips and work it the way we want.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
they
And that's
can
just-
they can spin whatever narrative they want.
And that's how they didn't show us any of this, except for if you're smart enough to understand racism in body language and in action and even the lack of words that you use. There's racism in that.
Yeah.
If you're smart enough to be able to see that in the show when they're just doing their stuff, you knew it was there. I knew it was there the whole time. I called it out right away. And like some people are uncomfortable with that, but seeing this and then knowing that these clips are out of the true edits of the show, it's like I know we don't have a personal responsibility to anything, but to anyone that I know that watches the show, I'm going to make sure that they know about it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share the videos. I don't care if nobody's interested in it. Maybe one person might be. But
We should attach the videos to our podcast.
yeah. Oh, that's
So
a
that
good.
the
Yeah,
class can
for a
see them.
fact. Yeah. It's just like just because this is what's happening doesn't mean this is what needs to continue to happen.
Yeah.
And it's like
Exactly.
and it's definitely not our responsibility, but it's like it's uncomfortable to live in a world where that still happens. So I don't want it to
Yeah.
happen
We're like
anymore.
moral we don't have it, but we have like moral obligation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I was just thinking about, like, the show is a big reflection of the world, and, like, when I'm thinking about beauty standards, like,
Yeah.
one of the clips of the video, she was talking, what was it, about the hair straightener, and she was like, oh, like, maybe she just wants hair,
Kemi.
like, yeah, maybe Kemi wants hair, like,
Annalise.
Annalise, which is, like,
Straight
Straight.
hair.
yeah, like, straight, long,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And, like, that talks about, like, the beauty standards of, like, our world, like, oh, that's what we should strive to be, you know?
Yeah.
And if you're not that, then you're not beautiful, then you're not, you know, when that's not the case, like, but it's just, like, crazy to see, like, how that's reflected in the show, and that's what people think, like, that's the truth of
Yeah.
what people think,
And
a lot of
then-
people think.
And then when they were talking about the Kemi girl once again, they were demonizing her for whatever she talked about relating to her body or her image or her hair, and were saying like basically shame on her for wanting to ever do anything to her body or change her looks or appearance in any way.
When that's her personal choice.
When that was her personal choice. But besides that, we don't know what the context. We don't know the exact context, but it's like so typical for us to tell women of color that you're ugly for not looking like the Eurocentric ways of beauty.
Exactly.
And so when they have internalized that, then we victimize them and tell them that they're guilty of it, and then like shame on you for conforming to the ideals that we just forced on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what the
Like,
hell?
you look everywhere. Like, you look at media. Like, when you think of like didn't something happen with like the Dove commercial or something? Like, just commercials in general.
Oh yeah, where they like
Yeah.
where their skin was black
Yeah.
and it was considered dirty, and then they
Yeah,
used the soap and then they
exactly.
became
Well,
a
like,
white woman.
Things like that. You go anywhere in the world, majority of places. Like, I'm half Filipino, right? And I've been to the Philippines a lot of times, and they strive to be like white. They have
Yeah.
lightning creams. They go outside with umbrellas and like all this stuff, because that's like what media shows is beautiful, like being lighter, being white. And then you think about, like I said earlier, Kat, she looked at Mickey and was like, oh, he looks like a Ken doll. Like, the toys we're giving our children is to show that like being white is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like,
And that's the acceptable thing to
Yeah.
be.
And how anti-blackness is all around the globe. Like,
yeah, all around the globe, like not just here, but it's just crazy that like, I don't know, like knowing, it's just so
the
crazy.
ideals infiltrate
Yeah.
everywhere, and
Uh-huh.
it's not just an American problem. It's like it's a global issue.
And you can't even say like, oh, I'm not affected by that, because yes, you are. Like, you don't know the parts of your brain that are affected by the socialization of advertising and just the society's Eurocentric ideals. Like, you don't know what that has done to you because it's persuaded you so much over time that for you to
Yeah,
think that that's normal
Yeah,
life
even Mickey
when
was
those laws
saying-
aren't even written.
Yeah, Mickey was saying like I'm not biased and blah blah blah, and it's like you are biased, you just can't recognize it, and that's the issue.
Yeah. The only way to fix the problem is recognize there is a problem.
Yes, acknowledge the problem.
Acknowledge it. Talk about it.
Talk about it.
And
Don't be afraid to be uncomfortable. In the uncomfort that is if someone's telling you this is what you did wrong and this is how to move forward. If you're uncomfortable because your safety is at risk and you feel like you are, your identity is being questioned and not affirmed, that is a different type of uncomfort, and that's the kind you need to leave.
Yeah, I don't understand like how defensive he got, because I feel like as a human being, like, for example, if I had done anything to offend you and you told me like, you called me out on it, like, I wouldn't be like, no, I didn't. Like, that's not the case.
Exactly,
Like,
'cause you
I'd be
don't
like,
remember.
I'm sorry. Like, I didn't recognize that. I didn't realize that. And I don't want to say like it's okay. It's okay to be ignorant in a way as long as you like want to change that and you grow as a person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You
Don't
want to
deny
learn.
it.
Yeah.
Don't deny what you could have done to hurt somebody else when
Because
you don't know what triggers people.
Yeah.
You don't know how that impacted them.
Yeah.
Intent. Versus
You don't know
impact.
everybody's story. And
Yeah.
exactly. And especially you don't know your impact. Just because your intentions are nice doesn't mean that your impact wasn't. And
Especially if your intentions are
and you
colorblind
can still
and you're not
apologize.
recognizing
Yeah.
anything.
you can
that's
still
actually going on.
apologize even if your intention isn't ill. Like, just because your intent was like, oh, I don't like this person because they made a mean joke I didn't like. Well, guess what? The mean joke that you didn't like, that they maybe made, you responded to with racial undertones and slurs and coded language or, racist body language. Like, that's messed up. What the person said to you was really not a big of a deal. It was like maybe sass at best. And it could have been resolved with a simple, little confrontation of like, hey, what you did hurt my feelings. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, thanks. And, a shaking of hands. It could have really been so simple. Instead, they talked about people behind their back and said that they threatened them. And they said that they bullied them. They tried on the girl Kemi's clothes, her bathing
fun
suit
of her.
specifically, to make
Yeah.
fun of her. They've made references to the black people as apes on the show. They've They said the N-word
Oh, and they said, you know what they said to, didn't they say to Jessica, or was it Jessica?
to go back to Mexico.
To go back to Mexico.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I got some context on that comment specifically. They call the sequestered house or hotel Mexico, but it's still really fucked up.
But they said it to her specifically.
Yeah, and like
Why is it called Mexico?
Yeah.
yeah, right. Like you
Why
can't
is it
name it
called
something
Mexico?
else. Like give your code names for whatever they're not allowed to talk about something better. Like.
And not only all of that, but they've still degraded women and talked bad down on women, and talked over them and shushed them and put their hands in their
them.
face, gaslight them, and then just denied that just by saying like, oh, I respect women.
Yeah.
You cannot be the judge of who you're giving your respect to. The people
Yeah.
you're giving your respect to are the judge of that.
I know I mentioned it before, but I hate it. Like, I respect women. I love my mom. So do you, like, you know what I mean? Or
Right.
Your mom is a different type of woman than the other women you're
yeah.
around.
Or do you have to be nice to women because you're nice to your mom? Like, do you, like, why can't you be a decent
Yeah,
human being?
besides having
Yeah.
a
Like,
mom.
why do you have to like bring? Like,
Why do you have to bring your mom into
Yeah.
respecting women?
Oh, I want to be a decent human being because I'm a decent human being.
Yeah.
It's like,
Exactly.
Why do you have to do
I
it?
have
Because
a
you know
mom-
your
yeah.
mom loved you and took care of
Yeah.
you and was
And
home for
raised
you.
you.
That, like, so.
Wow, that's pretty nuclear familyist.
Yeah, I really wanted to show you guys a clip of like, when he was like, most part like I want to make my parents proud, and then his parents came up and he was like, I'm sorry, and they were like, no,
Yeah.
it's okay, like it was
Yeah.
just like they were basically dismissing it
Yeah.
Yeah.
essentially, and I'm like, see, that's the problem. That's why I think that nobody will actually in his real life call him out.
Yeah.
Also, at the end of the day, he won $500,000. Like nobody, or
Right.
not $500,000. How much was it?
It's $500,000.
Half a
Yeah.
million.
Well, maybe. No, that's really bad. Never mind. I'm retracting my statement before I can even say it out loud.
Okay, I feel like that would be a good stopping point.